Higgs.
All right. So
Welcome, man. Thanks for spending some
absolutely,
time with me this morning.
absolutely,
Glad glad you're giving me some time. But this is Ron Meredith with Mind Your Business podcast, and I got Mr. Jeffrey Higgs, the president of Lemoyne on CDC and South Memphis Renewal Development Corporation. He got
absolutely. That's right.
a man that wear plenty of hats. Everybody know him. So
Okay.
we're gonna talk today about how to be a proficient business owner. That'll probably be about the best way to say it. And we're just going to talk about business
Sure.
and opportunities. Uh, how do you marry with you being, for example, in a CDC? How do most people think of CDC is okay? Well, I can get some grants. But a CDC is actually a business. You got a lot of major corporations that are CDC or nonprofits, should I say?
Right.
So how do you manage obtaining capital, both monetarily, politically, and socially? Because the overall objective of the CDC is to help the community. So, how do you marry or merge those different hats that you have to wear? Sometimes you say, okay, well, I got to be a business owner. Sometimes you say, well, I got to be a beggar. Sometimes you say, well, I got to be an appeaser. Sometimes I got so the conversation will go just kind of different ways. But overall, how can other people that see and hear us, how can they take from your life experiences to make their road just a little bit easier?
Wow. Well, first, thank you.
So that's a lot.
No, it is a lot.
I said I put a lot on the plate. We got a whole smorgasbord guy here.
Well, first of all, thank you, Ronald,
Appreciate it.
for having me. I think for me, and I think for anybody, just because we're a nonprofit, we still are a corporation.
Correct.
And so, a corporation can sue and it can be sued. And so we are no different from IBM or IP. Right. It's just that our mission is charitable in purpose. Okay. And so we try to operate just as any other corporation. We have officers, we have a board, we have staff. And what we try to do is to bring to our client base services and provide services that improve communities and change lives. And that's basically what we do as a nonprofit. And certainly working in some of the more depressed areas of the city, South Memphis and North Memphis, Riverside, and Klondike, in these neighborhoods, the challenges are great. Yeah. And all one has to do is to ride through these neighborhoods, bro.
I can imagine, yeah.
I mean, that's all you got to do is ride through these neighborhoods, and you will see what the needs are. And so I think, these neighborhoods are a project or a product, rather, of neglect and success. And I think, and to explain that a little bit, our generation, our main goal is to go to college, be better than our parents, and have stuff. Our children gonna have it easier than I had it. Yeah. And so we've worked hard to do that, but we've neglected kind of sort of where we came from. Okay. And so as a result of that, you see these neighborhoods. And so that's the work that we do. And we're doing that all over. In terms of our business structure and our business acumen, I think as a business owner, it's not easy. I always say you cannot measure a person until a business person or a person trying to go into business until they've met a payroll. Bruh, the burden of meeting a payroll, which means you're paying staff. That means that staff got to go pay their car note. That means they got to go take care of child care. They got to pay utility bills. They got to buy grocery. They got to get the yard man got to get cut. They got to paint their house. They want to go on vacation. They want to do this. They want to do that. And as an employer, when you can meet a payroll with that kind of responsibility, then you, as you like to say, it's a big boy game. And you have to, if you can do that, then that's, to me, that's a sign of a successful business and a successful business person, because that's a huge responsibility.
It is because I think about that all the your employees depending on you.
Yes, sir.
You're responsible for their life
and the trickle down. The daycare owner, because you got to go pay him, and then he got employees to pay. So it's big, and I think what a lot of our newer entrepreneurs lack in terms of having that kind of business acumen hurts them. I'm dealing with a person. I'm not going to define it no more than that. Who just started a business. And I'll go a little further and say I've helped them set up their business structure. I'll go even further and say I invested some resources into that business. And I said, well, since I've done all this, I needed some services from that business. And I made a purchase through that business. And then that's where it kind of went haywire. Because while I had nurtured them and kind of put the back office, if you will, together, some of the things that they had not learned was customer service. And maybe because it was me, they couldn't turn it off from a consultant friend who had helped them to now I'm a customer.
Correct.
So you got to treat me a little differently now. Because I'm a customer. And so I think that's what I see is the biggest thing, Ronald, is that our businesses have somehow lost the concept of customer service. And that's huge, I think.
Nowadays it is. A lot of, I guess maybe, I don't know about the generation, because I don't want to say it's so microwavable. That's kind of a cliche.
Right.
I think in understanding and this is what I try to get odd enough through my clients, the startups, it's you're going to wear many hats at many different times. And you have to know which hat to put on and which hat to take off. And sometimes you got to wear multiple ones. But in along the lines, your company is in the real estate development, also along with community development. And my time of knowing you, your vision or plan is you can only do, at least this is what I gather. We hadn't really talked about this, but just me looking at, you're saying we can make the community better by the businesses and the development in the area. If there's no development, if there's no business, then there's nothing to attract, nothing to hold. Because I remember when you built the other facility around the corner, that was the first time something that large had even been built. In the community
by a nonprofit,
by any profit, because there was nothing there outside of Stacks over there. There was nothing else that was there. So that was so when I was introduced to you, I was proud of just to be involved from my aspect of that, because that was huge for the area. And whether anybody wanted to admit it or not, that those two buildings really was the catalyst for people looking at South Memphis, differently.
Well, and we used all the tools in the toolbox to build the town center across from. Well, so one of the things that we don't do, I think, and when I say we, I don't know who your audience is, but I'll talk about. I will say first generation business people, minority business people. I think that's a nice, good way of saying.
That's a good way of saying. Well, just say read between the lines.
So I think one of the things that we don't do is know what's in the toolbox of development.
Okay.
And what I mean was, we were one of the first entities in this city to use New Markets tax credits,
Okay.
which was a George Bush program that President uh, um, from Marcus Clinton,
Clinton. Yeah.
that Clinton kept.
Okay. Okay.
Because it was a Republican tool to spur investments in urban neighborhoods.
Okay.
And so Clinton, being the astute president he was at that time, said, well, hey, this is a good thing.
Okay.
And that's before we had all this partisan politics.
Right.
So it's a good thing. Let's use it. So we use that, that tool to help lower our interest rate, to get a better interest rate. So we went for 7 years. See, the New Markets period is 7 years.
Okay.
So 7 years, you can just go on, you just go along and pay interest only.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
At the end of the 7 years, if you're improving the neighborhood and you put a project up, then suddenly there's other investments, the values appreciate. So now this project that costs $7 million in 7 years, where you've only been paying interest only, in 7 years now, your project is worth 12, 13, 14,
Wow.
$15 million. Yeah. So now all you got to refinance at the end of the 7 years is the $7 million, but your value is 15.
Right. Okay.
So you're in a great equitable, your equity is in a good position. And so we are real estate developers. And, I think, and back to your first point, so one of the reasons that we concentrate on economic development is because it creates jobs. And it helps in poverty reduction. It helps bring up values. No retailer is coming to a community. And that's why you don't see the Starbucks and all that in some of these neighborhoods, because you don't have no rooftops.
Yeah.
So if you can't build some houses that people want to live in,
right.
If you can't have, and if I live there, I want to shop at a grocery store near me.
Correct.
I want to go get me some Starbucks if I want that. Or when I want some office supplies, I want to go to a Staples or an Office Max. But they not coming if there's no rooftops.
Correct.
And if you look in these urban neighborhoods that we mentioned earlier, there are no rooftops.
Right.
Because we left because we wanted to live in a better neighborhood.
Right.
And so we left the neighborhood. We left the hood for a better neighborhood, and we left these communities as they are. And so that's why we concentrate so much on real estate development and trying to bring in projects that create jobs, that give people an opportunity to work and a living wage,
right.
if you will.
Yeah.
And so that way you begin to have a ripple effect. So now if I put this tech center we're about to build, if I put the tech center up and bring maybe a Subway in or another restaurant, that may spur somebody, because where we work, we're closer to Beale Street than people who live in Harbortown.
Correct.
So my point is, if we can bring some retail in using the nonprofit model, because a private developer never would come over here with a Subway or a Starbucks.
Correct.
So if we can do that, then we can create some jobs. Jobs then creates an economy in the neighborhood.
Correct.
And then suddenly you're generating some wealth and some income, and it begins to complement everything else in the neighborhood. And for us, let me cut you off. For us, we have a lot of assets. We got Metropolitan Church. We got Mason Temple. We got Elmwood Cemetery. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, we got
church may go somewhere. Cemetery
yeah, cemetery ain't going. We got Stax Museum. We got Lemoyne in College. We got all this rich culture and history. Dr. Walker's house, and Bishop Mason, where he lived. All that's in this neighborhood. And so for us to do this development and to concentrate on real estate development, because the real estate here is relatively cheap.
Correct.
And we've bought it over time. And so now we can develop it and really create some critical mass in the neighborhood. So that's why we really concentrate on it. It creates jobs. It's job creation.
Okay. Because the infrastructure of any community has to be set first. And those are the ones that, are long gone. And you'd be like, okay, well, how do we get to all of these fancy buildings? Because you look around and you go downtown or certain areas that were now where everybody seemed to forget where there was someone
That's right.
that you're standing on someone's
You're
shoulders
absolutely right.
of. And so that's what I continue to see about Lemoyne on CDC, that you guys are the foundation, because you just recently, I guess in the last budgetary year, got a TIF program, which is unheard of for a minority community.
That's right.
That you can say, okay, well now we're getting some tax credits off of these developments. And so then I think probably in their mind, they said, well, ain't nobody building over in there, give it to them. But then they forgot that, oh, we developers, so don't worry about it. We're going to create our own secret sauce in this whole deal.
Wow.
So,
well,
you know, kind of go from there.
It's interesting that you would mention the TIF and what you just said, because what we heard from the CRA board, and for those who don't know, CRA is a community reinvestment agency, and their job is to reinvest in neighborhoods. And that's who control the TIFs. That's who control the Elvis Presley TIF, the U of M TIF on Highland, the downtown TIF. And what they told us, and I want your audience to brace themselves for what I'm about to say. What they told us was, if it had not been for you guys coming in here competing for this TIF, we never would have even looked at South Memphis or North Memphis.
Wow.
Now, this is a CRA board whose sole job is community reinvestment.
Wow.
And they had the audacity to tell us, had it not been for us, they never would have looked in North Memphis or South Memphis or Frazier or Riverside or any of these neighborhoods. And that says a lot about where development goes, and why some of these neighborhoods look like they look. There's no excuse. And I'm not blaming any former mayor, because I've dealt with all of them in this modern recent times. But it's a shame that some of these neighborhoods look the way they look. So what the TIF does, you know, so people understand it, the TIF allows us to designate an area, because I'm not going to jump on CRA too bad, because we have it. Because we have it now.
You and plus you still got to work with
them. And I still got to work with them.
Don't jump on them too bad.
I'm not going to jump on them too bad.
We just pinch them a
little
bit.
Well, but they know that they said that.
Yeah.
And they were a little embarrassed by saying it, I must say. In their defense, they were a little embarrassed by having to say that. But I think it was a testament to the group that worked together to put this together.
We all have a strong team.
We have a strong team, and it's not just me. When I said team, it's a group of agencies in South Memphis. And we've been working together for so long. But so here's how a TIF works, so people will understand it. And I'm just going to make this as simple as I can. So, and I always like to use small numbers when I'm talking numbers.
Good.
So the tax rate in the TIF district, day one, before we start, is $1. Okay. And then all the development comes, right? All the development comes. We put buildings up, the Starbuckses and the coffee shops and the restaurants and the retail and the housing. So at the period of, say, 5 years, suddenly the tax rate now is $10. So the increment is $9, right? So instead of that $9 going all back to the city to pay for schools and police and fire and all that, a portion of that stays within the district for infrastructure improvement. So instead of us giving the city the whole $9, we only maybe get them $4 and we keep $5. And so they can still do what they need to do. No, let me correct. They keep the $1 and we keep the increment in the district. Okay. And what that allows us to do then, Ronald, is to put new streets, new sidewalks, new curbs, new sewers, lighting, all the improvements that a developer would have to pay for. That's why developers like TIF. So now, if I ain't got to put sewers, gutters, sidewalks, lights, curbs in, then as a developer, I'm saving hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars, which now encourages me to go in and build within this
Okay.
TIF
Okay.
district,
Okay.
the values are going to go up, and ultimately the city will get some revenue,
Right.
right? But that part of that increment stays within the district, and that's how when you go in some of these TIF areas, you see new sidewalks. Why they get new sidewalks?
Mm-hmm.
And you see the LED lights versus the old vapor lights,
Correct.
and
Correct.
it looks
Correct.
new and pretty and exciting.
Even got grass.
Got grass.
Yeah.
Then you attract other businesses,
Okay.
and suddenly you see all this development happen. And so that's the advantage of having a TIF, and that's why we wanted it so bad.
Right.
Because
right.
it put. I'm gonna go back to the toolbox. It's another tool in the toolbox
Okay.
of community development.
And see, I think business owners, because they're busy trying to make ends meet, because I know I was guilty of it, and I guess we all are guilty of it to some degree, trying to make ends meet, you really don't determine or seek out, or maybe most people don't even know what they should know. And I think that probably would be the best way to put their finger on it, or your finger on it, saying, well, I just didn't know.
Well, but that's part of the problem. So that's part of the problem. So what you should not do, and take this advice, all you new and existing business owners, the whole idea in business is to use other people's resources and dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a guy years ago had a great restaurant concept, and some people may remember it, down on Mississippi, down by the Temple Church of God in Christ in Booker T. Washington, and great restaurant, but we didn't see him till it was about a month. We was going to eat all the time, but we didn't see him till it was about a month. He was getting ready to close, and he come and knocking, and he was like, "Man, I used all of my retirement, all of my resources." Notice the word my. But that's not the way you do it in business, and that's something we have to learn, as that definition of businessman I gave earlier.
Yeah.
That's something we've got to learn. There are resources out here that are available for us to do these kinds of projects and to operate our business. Use other people's resources first.
Yeah.
And you keep your resources, but there are bank loans you can get. SBA have programs. EDA has programs. Bankers, there are banks with CRA issues who gotta lend money to women owned and small businesses because they've redlined us in the past. Go after those. Do your research. We got a women's business center now in town, sponsored by the SBA.
Okay.
I think it's in the Crosstown Concourse.
Okay.
We got BBA, been around forever.
Right.
And
I think I'm gonna actually try to do an interview with them, because they, again, great.
And they got new leadership now. You know, Roby Williams ran it for years, and Roby was a great leader for that organization.
Yeah, I travel in the world.
Yeah, Roby's out doing his thing,
walking in the sand.
Absolutely. But they've got new leadership, new energy, and then the city has made a big effort to do minority business participation. Find out what these resources are. See, I think the piece that we miss is the role of government.
Yeah.
See, government has a role in development and in business, and their role is to sort of stand in the breach for you religious types, and their role is to stand in the gap. And the government will never do it all.
Correct.
And as a businessman, you don't want government too much in your business.
Correct.
But they are there to stand in the breach. And so I think, one of the things that we have to learn to do is, as we have put projects together, what's the gap? Got some money from, what do your capital stack look like? I got a little money from the bank. I made an equity investment. We may have lucked up and found a grant or two to go in a project. We might have gotten some money from the Center City Commission, what's the Downtown Commission now. And so we've got a gap. Well, let me go talk to government, because I'm bringing a service to the community. I'm creating some jobs in the community. And I don't want you to fund totally my project. But, I keep it small. It's $100 project. I've raised 90. I need $10.
Right.
And that's the role of government. And I think What we have to do as business people, Ron, is to just make sure that we understand that there are resources out here. And let's work the resources first. Save your stash.
Yeah.
You got that retirement for retirement, not to go into business, which is fine.
Correct.
But keep it for that and find out where the other resources are, and put your projects together in a way that people can help fund some of your stuff.
So as a up and coming business, a new business, or someone that's just sitting at the table at the house saying, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Right.
How would you advise them to start a plan or process? Because the other day I was talking with someone and I said, and I have to mention Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Good book.
And I said, the key is think.
Right.
It's nothing else. All of the other stuff is good. Creating a budget, creating a plan.
Yep.
And I think a majority of people forget to think. So how would you say, okay, Ron, you've done it on your own.
Right.
And it's not working out the way you expected it to.
Right.
You got a bunch of struggles, a bunch of stress, a bunch of this.
Right.
All right. So let's start walking this plan. Like I said, okay, well, check and find out where your resources are. How would I go about finding, because it's finding the resources. You know, you can go to the library, stand in the library and say, I'm a business owner. Where do I go?
Right.
You're in the smorgasbord. You got so much to choose from. But where would be? So that's a long question for maybe a short answer.
Right.
Where would?
It's gonna be short.
How would I get my mind fixed? And where would I start?
Well, so the first thing is a gap analysis. See, Ron. See, Ron, we got
to explain gap.
Well, I'm finna explain.
Oh, okay, I'm interrupting.
No, you're okay, but I'm finna explain it. So first thing you do, you see what the lay of the land is. Bruh, we don't need no more chicken wing places. Okay? I know you can make the best chicken wings in America, but we don't need any more of those. Now, we can use some more, but you ain't gonna get to where you want to be.
Right. Because you got 10 on the street.
Right. So what you do, you find a void. And people know what a void is. It's a hole in something. You find a void and you fill it. And I think that's where we get sidetracked at. We think we got to go we got to be another barber. And nothing wrong with any of these professions.
Right.
A beautician, I'm going to cut grass. Nothing wrong with any of that. But if you want to get to where you see all your idols, and I don't know if they're people idols, but as we Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and get LinkedIn, if you want to be where you see those people, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at all of that. We say, man, that's what I want to do.
Live vicariously.
Yeah, we live vicariously through others. So that's okay. And if that's where you want to be, all those people did was find a void. And they saw the void in the market. You have to go to the marketplace. You find a void in the market. And you know what? I can fill that hole. And there's a need. There has to be a need. Okay? There has to be a demand. And you fill that demand, that need with a product or a service. And I think that's what happens. So let's look at the automotive industry. Gas prices sky high. So what has the automotive industry done? They've pivoted. And in the next 5 or 6 years, bruh, all you're going to have to do is have a key and some batteries and some power.
Yeah.
So what is the power company did? Well, we can't keep burning coal because it's killing us and putting a hole in our ozone. So we're going to solar. The sun ain't going to never burn out.
Yeah.
Okay? And if it does, we'll probably all be gone.
We have a whole nother set of
problems. We have a whole nother set of problems. So my point to your audience is, you don't necessarily have to go and be a beautician, because Aunt B was a beautician. Okay? And they make $700-800 a day, which is fine. But entrepreneur, a business person that's aware that they're living in 2023. Yes, I said 23. because we ain't about a month or two
We
away
ain't
from
but no.
that. Right.
It's close.
And so now what you do with all the innovation and the technology, you got to think about where is this gap in the product or the services that are out here? What's the need? What's the next thing?
Mm-hmm.
Then once you figure that out, see, here's what happens. Resources find innovation.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So if you are innovative and you've got the next great thing, you got to worry about what your capital stack going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used that a couple of times. Your capital stack is just...
I like that phrase.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, what it is just what a project is going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have some debt in the stack.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have some loans from mom and them in the stack. You're going to have some savings in the stack.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to have, in my line, you're going to have some grants in the stack.
Right.
And you're going to have all of that, some loans from friends and family, and you have some equity. And so when you find the innovation piece and the whole, because that's what we're living in now. You know, that model of a man putting on a suit, and I apologize because I always wear a suit. And I'm very casual today. But anyway, that model is old and
we'll say it's Friday. They don't know.
Yeah, it's Friday. And I don't work on Friday, so this is my Friday look. But anyway, what I'm saying is that model of the white shirt and that is kind of, there's still a time to wear a suit. Don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is innovation now is what people are looking for. What's next? And if you're really going to make an impact as an entrepreneur, you got to be thinking a little, and I hate to use out of the box, but you got to be thinking futuristically about what's next. I probably said that word wrong. Somebody gonna put that in the chat.
Futuristically.
Futuristic. If you're gonna be thinking futuristic, you really need to be thinking. And maybe there's an innovation in chicken wings. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's an innovation in beautician and barber shop work.
Right.
Maybe there isn't, but all I'm saying to you is find that innovation, and that then becomes your ticket to your dreams and having a kind of income and resources and really helping people the way, because I think ultimately every businessman wants to help somebody.
Correct.
Because you can't help others. You can't do well until you've done good by yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, old attorney told me that. You can't help nobody else, Jeff, till you got the resources.
Yeah. So that's true. Yep. That's true. If you drowning, you can't help them.
Can't help nobody if you ain't on land. If you're not on some dry land, you can't help nobody.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. So now to start wrapping this up, because I really appreciate you giving me your time. You're gonna talk about me off camera in a minute.
Of course.
Taking up all your time.
Oh, of course. But, you know I am.
Lemoine on CDC.
Yes,
from your inception, your Lemoine on graduate, strong alumni, love the community. Give us a brief rundown of the organization and a few accomplishments and where we are today and where you see it in the future. So I'll let you wrap us up with that. I'll let you have the floor. Tell us about Lemoine on CDC.
Well, I appreciate it, Ron. I mean, we started, and I really, I don't mind. We sitting there joking a little bit, but I enjoy spending time with you and sharing, because you're a very astute businessman yourself. Don't y'all be fooled. But Ron is a very astute and on top of it businessman, and is always thinking about what's next and what the next project is. But for us, I mean, we started in '99 when there wasn't nothing over here, bro. There wasn't no stacks or nothing. And they had just tore down Lemoine Gardens public housing project. And so, our goal is just always being, how do we make this a better place to live, work, and play? That's sort of our little motto, live, work, and play. How do we make this a better place? And we knew we had to do that. And I've always talked about economics development. We knew we had to create some real change and some economic development by creating some jobs.
Correct.
I keep going back to that.
Correct.
Because, see, a working man ain't going to break in your house.
That's true. That's true.
Because when he get through laying them bricks at
Mm-hmm.
6 o'clock in the
Yeah.
evening, and he got up at 6 that morning,
Yeah.
he going home, go to bed,
Go
eat
home,
some
go to
dinner,
bed.
and gonna get ready for the next day.
Old
And
folks used to say, "Idle mind, devil work."
yeah, absolutely. And so we've always concentrated, and I mentioned always concentrated on creating jobs and economic development for
Right.
people,
Right.
because we think that's the key to economic growth and sustainability,
Okay.
putting people to work. We also wanted to build houses
All right.
because unbeknownst to most people, and a lot of people may know this, when the housing industry in America is churning, bruh, America is at its strongest.
Correct.
Because housing affects just about
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the model about having a payroll, having to meet a
Mhm.
payroll. Because a guy or a woman that works in housing, she got car notes, she got daycare, she
Yeah.
got plumbers to fix her plumbing,
Yeah.
she got church, she got car notes. So when our housing industry, we're buying stuff, we're buying products, you know, we're buying appliances, we're
Yeah.
buying roofing materials. So when our housing economy is strong, America is strong. And so we wanted to do housing and economic development. And then what I call the soft side of community development. You know, that's the after school stuff, the
Right.
community cleanups and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because you gotta impact people.
Right.
Sort of the
Right.
human
Human
services.
interest type
Yeah, the
thing.
human interest, human services side. And so that's kind of the three areas we worked in. And as I said, you know, we've evolved over the years. Been some tough times because we're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
You know, as a nonprofit developer, it's been some 15th and 30th that I walked out of here with no check, but my folks got paid.
Yeah.
And so, but that's part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to make those sacrifices, but it's the rewards too. Because maybe the next month you can get all three of them checks
At one time.
at one time.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so what we've done, man, is really tried to work on that. As you mentioned, we just got the TIF designation. We're about to open a innovation and technology center across from the Four-Way restaurant right there at Mississippi and Walker.
Okay. Yeah, I remember going over to the groundbreaking.
Yeah, 15,000 square feet innovation. We're going to be able to provide 2,000 online classes.
Wow.
We've got some restaurants coming, coffee shops, retail that people in this neighborhood.
Okay.
And because it's within the TIF district, we're going to put new infrastructure in, so new sidewalks and curbs, LED lighting to light that corner up, because that's a gateway into Lemoyne and into Stacks.
Correct.
So we're going to clean all that up. We're building some houses in Whitehaven. We got a 47 unit single family market rate housing project going. Probably the first project like that in Whitehaven in quite some time.
You're right.
And the demand, and I live in Whitehaven. And so the demand is huge. I mean, when we announced, man, we had 30 people who have called and inquired. And so I'm sure they've been waiting to hear back from us. But now we're in a position to kind of get that going. We've got another huge, huge project that I just don't want to talk about yet, but it's going to be a game changer.
Okay.
And it's real close to where we are.
Well, that'll be part two.
Yeah. And
that'll be
but we're talking about creating hundreds of jobs with this project, okay, and bringing access to a whole lot of retail and commercial right to this community. Our Youth Build program, we're training young people ages 16 to 24 for jobs at Ford and Blue Oval for medical.
Gonna be absolutely huge.
Yeah,
and they have a
medical
battery
device,
plant that they're
battery plants, medical devices, nursing, construction. So it's always for us, it's been about how do we impact lives and make people have access to good jobs and good places to live, work, and play. And so it's been a joy, man. I enjoyed doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I got a board that supports me and a community that supports the work that we're doing. And we try to work with integrity. And so that's what we've been doing. And we're business people. Above and foremost, we are business people trying to take care of business.
Can't ask for much more than that, man. I've been wanting to sit down, and I guess I'm using this as a pick your brain opportunity as well, because you got a lot of people that you know, I run into from the insurance side, people say,
Right.
well, I'm gonna start a nonprofit, and, you know, and so
Good luck.
I always ask them. I said, so I start out by saying, oh, so you're a socialist? Huh? You're like a socialist? I ain't no socialist. I said, no. So you're telling me you want to get some money without working for it?
Right.
And so they'd be like, no. I said, no. When you do a nonprofit, it's more work than just saying people just gonna automatically write.
It doesn't happen.
Write you a check just because you.
That's right.
You know, you're a nonprofit. I said, there's normally a lot. You got to put some skin in the game.
Yes.
In the area for another person to say, I'm willing to give you my money.
No, absolutely.
And that's the key that I think a lot of people, and that's what I wanted this conversation to be about, so people can see, no, you really do have to put some skin in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
And not just say, I have a 501c3. I'm going to give you a receipt when you give me some money or you donate this or whatever. No, because when you start doing that, government entities are looking and saying, are you honest? Are you credible?
Right.
Are you, have you done? What have you done? How have you done? What's your long term, short term? So I think that, again, that's the reason why I wanted us to have the conversations, because I have viewers and clients that have nonprofits, and you know, you need to make certain you on the right track to continue to be around, because you say you started in '99, and
it's a long time ago.
But it's a long time.
Well, you know,
to have to fight this bear.
Well, the other thing I'll say to it, you know, we've helped a lot of people start nonprofits, and it's not always easy.
Yeah.
And people think just because you get a nonprofit, the money is just gonna start rolling in, and it just doesn't work that way. I'm gonna say what I'll say again, and I'm gonna hush. You can't do good by others till you've done well.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
That's true. That's true. And look, people aren't gonna let you do good by them until they think and see that you've done well yourself.
Right.
You're like, how you gonna help me and you?
Right. And you struggle.
Both of us big. No, that's not gonna work. But man, I again,
yes, sir,
absolutely enjoyed it.
Yes,
this
sir.
has been Mind Your Business podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and look forward to the next time we're gonna have Mr. Higgs break the news on what this next project. It'll probably be broken elsewhere, but at least we'll get a little bit extra insight on what's going on, and most importantly, how it's helping better people's lives.
Yep.
Because that's really the heartbeat of the organization over here. How can we make young people's lives better? How can we make parents' lives better, the children's lives better, the community at large? Because again, you used the term rooftops, but at the same time, if you have a strong community, strong men, strong women, then that trickles down to the family, and that'll eliminate a lot of this senseless violence that is happening from people that are really just desperate. And you know, we want to try to, as a business community, not have as many desperate people. You're gonna always have them, but not have as many to where we can now, you know, leave our doors unlocked and smile, or not worry about grandma getting knocked upside the head because somebody was ultimately hungry. So, you know, we just kind of go from there. But again, man, I absolutely enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
And until next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and thank your audience.